Okay, this is video 2 for the day on multiplying fractions. I showed you before how to multiply fractions, the two different ways of either reducing the answer or reducing during the problem. So I'm going to do a few more example problems and walk you through it just in case you need a little extra help going into the lesson. So if I take a number such as 3/4, multiply it times, say, 2/6. I'm going to do this one starting out by cross reducing. So I'll look at this number and this number, the 3 and the 6. Is there anything that I can reduce them by? There is. 3 will go into both of them. So I divide both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then I look at the other set. 4 and 2. Is there anything that will go into 4 and 2? There also is for that. 2 will go into both. So I cross this out, make it 1, cross this out, 2 will go into 4 2 times. Now I multiply the new numbers. I have 1 and 1, so 1 times 1 is equal to 1. And then I have 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And if you think you messed up on your problem, then you can go back and work it the other way. So we'll take the original problem, 3/4 times 2/6, work it out, and then reduce the answer. So we have 3/4 times 2/6. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 6 is 24. What number goes into both of these? We can reduce them both by 6. So divide it by 6 over 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. We get 1/4 on the top one, 1/4 on the bottom one. Same problem, same answer, two different ways of doing it. Do one more example for you for a little bit larger problem. (12/16) times 4/8. So a problem like this, as it gets bigger, as the numbers get larger, you're going to want to cross reduce, because 16 times 8 is no longer mental math. It is no longer one of our multiplication facts, so it's going to be easier for us if we cross reduce. So I'll look at 12 and 8. We'll start with the top one, and it's the one that's diagonal from it. 12 and 8 can be reduced. What number goes into both 12 and 8? Well, I know 4 will go into both. So I reduce them both by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now do the same thing with the other two, 16 and 4. I know 4 will go into both of them as well. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now that I've got all of the cross reduction done, I can multiply the new numbers out. So I have 3 here and 1 here, so 3 times 1 is equal to 3. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. That is already reduced down all the way, and that is my answer. I will show you now how difficult it can be without the cross reducing if I try to just work it out and reduce the answer. So I have 12/16 times 4/8. 12 times 4, we do know that as a math fact, it's going to give us 48. 16 times 8 is not a math fact, so we have to come over here and multiply this out. 16 times 8. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 there, my 4 there. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So it's going to be 128. So I have 128 here. So now I have this number here that I have to reduce down. Well, off the top of my head, I know the first thing by looking at them using my divisibility rules is that 2 will go into them. I can go further with my divisibility rules and find a bigger number, but the one that I know for sure is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both of these by 2 over 2. 48 divided by 2. So now we have to come up here and do that math. 48 divided by 2. 2 will go into 4 twice. Bring down your 8. 2 will go into 8 4 times. So this is going to be 24 over, and then we got to do 128. Divided by 2. 2 will go into 12 6 times. 2 will go into 8 4 times. So I've got 24 over 64. So now I've got to go again. Now I do know that 4 will go into both of these, so I can divide both by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 64 divided by 4, I have to come back up here and do. So it's going to be 6 over 16, which I've ran out of room at this point. So I'm going to have to come down here and write 6 over 16, which I look at, and it is still reducible. So I have to reduce it by 2. And then I get to 3 over 8. So I finally got to my answer after all of this work up here, this multiplication over here. So basically I've turned one problem that I did very easily up here with a very few steps into a multiplication problem, 2 division problems, and several fractions being reduced. So the best way to do this is going to be using cross-reducing. Now you may have some that don't need to be cross-reduced, but you're always going to check. If you come to 1/3 times 1/2 and you look at it, there's no cross-reducing that can be done. 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6, and you have your answer. But you always want to check if there is cross-reducing, so you can have 2/3 times 3/4, then you do have cross-reducing that can happen here. The 2 and the 4 can be divided by 2. This becomes 1, this becomes 2. 3 and 3 can be divided by 3. This becomes 1, this becomes 1. You have 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2, and there's your answer. So if you can use cross-reducing, do it. If it can be cross-reduced, you definitely need to cross-reduce it so that it makes your problem easier as the numbers get bigger. The last thing that I want to cover for multiplying a fraction is when you are multiplying a fraction, you're finding a fraction of something. So if I have half of a pizza and I'm going to split that half of a pizza into 1/4, so if I got 4 people and everybody's going to get 1/4, I can know by multiplying them I'm finding a fourth of it. So a fourth of a half is going to be 1/2 times 1/4, and it's going to end up, these can't be cross-reduced. You're going to get 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 4 is 8. So if you're giving a half of a pizza to split between 4 friends evenly, everybody is going to get 1/8 of the original pizza. So that's why we use multiplying fractions in real life ways. So good luck today. If you have any questions, you can rewind the video, watch the examples again, and don't forget, if you can cross-reduce, cross-reduce. It'll save you a lot of time in the long run.